Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order, Last Days of Europe, with me, Alpha Mecha, and the Empire of Japan. So we have left off last time at 1st of January, just hoping that we will make a report on the state of prosperity sphere, and I just finished recording it. So amazing stuff this year. I'm really happy with the progress we're making. Real GDP growth is currently at 4.30%. Okay, that's really nice. And I wanted to write down the score of the United States of America so I can put it in the previous video. It's 2075 because I screwed that one up. So cool. So let us start by setting the next national focus, which is going to be the moderate mandate. But very close to Hakkō ichiu, which would be a pretty decent boost in political power. Not that we're doing bad, we have 400 now, which is crazy, but we have to be careful where we spend it. I'm pretty sure we'll need it soon. For the past few months, the conservatives and reformists have coordinated to form a consolidated policy on the economy and social issues. In a surprising turn of events, these reforms gained ground among the Japanese populace, uniting the old and young alike in support of the fledgling government. Long gone were the days where the public distrusted the Diet under Ino. In Ikeda and Takagi's hands, the sacred and implicit bond between the state and the people has been reforged. All of this has resulted in a slight chance of course for cabinet and the government. Rather than ruling from where he had stood before, Ikeda would reign closer to the center. The prime minister and the government would strive to represent more than the narrow band that the reformists and conservatives would appeal towards. Together, the cabinet shall march towards a moderate model, a universal governance that serves all sections of society. So I like that we're going to increase the relations with both conservatives and reformists, because we currently have 9 days towards the House of Cards is dealt in hand, but we're going to lose quite a lot of relations, so hopefully this is going to offset it a little bit. And we have a technology to get here, and we're going to jump right into the economy. So we're going with the industrial management, which gives us more GDP. We're working on the general building construction. We're working on the flexible automation techniques. So which one next? Resource extraction? I think we could do resource extraction of 4, which gives us resource gain efficiency of 10%. New prospecting techniques, as well as deep boring equipment, allow for the exploitation of ore veins and deposits that were previously inaccessible or even undiscovered. So that's a 10% in growth in the amount of resources that we're gonna get. Anything else? We lost a little bit of production units here, so let us just check that. No, we didn't. That one is lying. Anything else? Available planes. No divisions in training. It's looking good. So I think at this point we can unpause it and have it. Oh, okay. The second audit. The Yuntong was decentralized. Investigator Nishi came to work with a heavily classified file on his desk. It was the result of the second audit, after all information from Chinese officers was purged. There was no news from any member of the Chinese agents he worked with, and he put the thoughts of dead men out of his mind. The report was written with an aggravated tone, detailing how the true organization of the Yuntong was in a number of splinter cells. To what extent the cells worked together on sharing information or how was still unsolved, but the Chinese claim of Daiwi's network being a centralized and hierarchical organization were totally false. These results, while confirmed to be accurate, were done without working with the Nanjing government. Untrustworthy sources and the poor status of the Chinese intelligence agency caused the results to be heavily delayed. Nishi knew that whoever wrote this was likely trying their best to not curse the Chinese agents outright in an unprofessional manner, but in the world of bureaucratic investigation, this was the equivalent of spitting in a man's face. Investigator Nishi continued to read through the file that day, finding more and more about the locations and size of Yuntong cells, along with many more harsh words about the Chinese officials sabotaging the committees. But how could he do it with so much surveillance? And the death of the Tsar. The Unifier King is no more. After over 50 years of rule, Tsar Boris III lies dead in Sofia, surrounded by his family, advisors, and loyalists. A king loved and feared in equal measure, the Tsar will likely be remembered for his conquest of Bulgarian majority territories, as well as the controversial political repressions that he underpinned his 30 years of absolutist. Yeah, they got way more territory. His absolutist experiment. Already, Boris III's son Simeon has been crowned Tsar of Bulgaria. As expected, Simeon has made gestures towards reform. Though he has been shy to exact details, many expect the return of elections. Whether Simeon will create a liberal democracy depends on just how far Simeon is willing to take his reformist inclinations. How can Bulgaria live without its father? That is a great question. Sorry about the skip, but with that out of the way, we can unpause the game, I guess. We have just a couple of things. Let me see the decisions, because I'm kind of expecting that there's going to be something about the Davy crisis investigation. So far, I've realized we had basically two choices, and in both of those I chose wrong. So I'm looking for a bit more luck in the upcoming choices. What can you do? I mean, this is blind, so I'm doing my best. And the game hasn't really given me any clues as far as I'm aware. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't give me any. There's no clues. It's just basically whatever feels better to you. And you have to go by your gut. Yuntong internal communication breakthrough. The branch of the investigative committee in Nanjing had been working fiercely after their sabotage by Chinese agents who lied about the structure of Dai's resistance organization, including the Yuntong, Dai's spy network, which made Japan's war in China an even more brutal affair. After removing the Chinese investigators, they had been able to determine a number of Yuntong cells operating in China, and among their leaders was Milton Miles, an American admiral, also confirmed to be alive in China, no doubt helping the Yuntong however he could. Investigator Tadano Nishi, while in discussion with his fellow agents, laid out a brilliant theory as to Admiral Miles' current situation. Since both Davy and Admiral Miles are still alive, he began, there is no doubt these two men are working together. However, we have not received many letters confirming this connection. Actually, do we even know that he's alive? He stayed back in China, but I'm not 100% sure that he is still alive. But that doesn't mean they aren't working together. What if the two are purposeful in sending out such outdated and minute information? I've been poring through the letters available, and I've noticed a few interesting patterned symbols. I've noticed only 12 of these symbols ever being used. It has to be the Chinese calendar, Nisha suggested, and the others nodded along in agreement. It's a long chance, but I think it might work, and if it does, each and every one of us will be written in the records of history as the codebreakers that saved the empire. For days, the encryption strategy of the Chinese calendar yielded nothing but swaths of hidden information, more than they had acquired in months. Nishi, a young and aspiring officer, may have just opened the door to ending the Titanic conspiracy. It was clearer than ever that if Milton Miles was alive, he was operating in a Shanghai cell. Ken Petai were sent immediately to the streets of the city, and the UFO investigator earned himself commendation from the highest members of the investigation. Okay, so we have gained evidence. So we have not gathered sufficient evidence regarding Dai, but we have gathered enough sufficient evidence regarding the continued existence of Yuntong and sufficient evidence regarding how Yuntong operates. Okay, so 2 of those are done. Now in 3 days we're gonna get the House of Cards, And after that we can immediately burn a bunch of this political power because we're gonna need it for the stability of the situation. So how much does this one take? Well, support and paranoia. Thinking we might want to do this one. So that's gonna be just +5 and 5. And an increase in paranoia, and then we're gonna burn it off here. That would mean 72% boost in each. Or we could even burn it for this one. We'll wait for now. Origin of the Yuntong executive orders. Reports returned to us came with an upbeat attitude, as the Genpei had made a number of breakthroughs over the past few days regarding a series of high-profile letters, almost certainly from Yuntong cells. Their origins stemmed from a number of locations in China, some from large cities, while others fell into investigators' hands. Hey! Oh god! What the hell happened? Oh snap, okay. Well, we have a new hand. I have no idea how that happened. The game suddenly jumped up in speed. Well, okay, I guess you guys can read that event if you pause the game, or the video actually. We didn't get anything from that one, and I'm gonna check it out as well. So, what's the situation? We have only 200... No, we have 245 MPs to vote on the bills. But we don't have enough support in the House of Peers anymore, okay. And we don't have enough people. Okay, so let's launch a propaganda campaign. And let's use the public to get more people, because we do not have enough conservatives here. Can I? Is this worth it? Or is there anything else I can do? Not having enough... Yeah, I think we have to do this. Okay, now we're back to government stability of 100%. Because we have... Okay, so that is really important. We must remain the strongest party in the parliament. That's the important part. Okay, I think I can burn some on the Kido-Ita's relations. And I guess also on the independence. And we'll save the rest for now. 278. We're gonna get an improved relations with reformers and conservatives just from the event. Sorry, not from the event, but from the focus. So that is good. And we'll need to burn a little bit more on the propaganda campaign. Actually twice to get it, but that's fine. Searching for a dead man. We've gained evidence. The revelation of the SACO documents began to take its grasps over the assembled politicians, leaving them perplexed momentarily. A degree of normalcy then returned to the room before the Prime Minister dismissed his array of advisors. Just prior to exciting himself, the Home Minister announced that he would be contacting Genpei Department across the sphere in the hopes that they might now finally be able to narrow down the search. With the investigators now out in the field again, they were able to make some headway regarding the missing admiral. A courier sent out of Shanghai was found to be carrying a package discreetly marked with the emblem of the Yuntong, the intelligence service belonging to Dai Li. Interrogating the courier relieved was supposed to be revealed. Interrogating the crew revealed that he had been paid a hefty sum to take the package from Shanghai to Hangzhou, where he would be again paid upon delivering the parcel to a location just outside the city. The man in question was certainly not the admiral based upon the courier's description, yet it was a solid V nonetheless. Before proceeding any further with their mission, the agents delivered the report to the Home Minister, detailing the investigators' new hypothesis regarding the admiral's current actions and whereabouts. While they were yet to confirm his exact location, the most obvious spot was now Shanghai, a large coastal city with a great deal of foreigners, made for a good hideout for an American not looking for attention. General Fujiwara sent the investigators a simple response upon reading the report. Move in on Shanghai, you will receive reinforcements soon. Surround the city and find Admiral Miles. Okay, so we have more evidence. Yep, we have gathered sufficient evidence about affairs in Shanghai. Good. Robert F. Kennedy secures second term. Robert F. Kennedy was once said to be too naive or idealistic to succeed. Today, however, his doubters have been proven wrong, as the progressive champion once more defeated the Republican-Democratic coalition and secured 4 more years as president. Before a crowd of cheering well-wishers, he declared that though much change has been achieved, there is still so much more to be done. Kennedy has vowed to focus his second term on ripping out the remaining injustices in American society, with even more ambitious plans being set in motion. A few sweat nervously at just how far he is willing to go to see his dreams realized. Whatever happens, few Americans doubt that the 1960s will be remembered as a decade of unprecedented change. A wind of change sweeps America. Okay, so what would the civilian austerity do? Okay, what was the political power gain? Then I'm not at all interested. What tax hike? Stifles growth. Not interested then. Not at all. The Admiral's cover. Contact Shanghai now. Shanghai was filled with the agents of the Kenpetai and Toko from each and every direction. Some took up positions along the roads in and out of the city, while others used disguises in order to infiltrate the recesses of Shanghai's underbelly. They would slowly sink their claws into the city, sealing off each and every escape route with every passing day. If nothing else, the Admiral would be quite unable to leave without being seen. An invisible siege has just begun. While the investigating agents continued to widen their net over Shanghai, they turned their focus towards what identity Milton E. Miles might have assumed to blend into his new surroundings. As an American, the Admiral would already be limited in his options. He would need to remain in districts home to many foreigners, with the financial district coming to the minds of the investigators first. Miles was likely posing as a merchant, someone recognizable to his allies, but subtle enough to avoid suspicion. Then there was the issue of whether the Admiral was still in communication with the United States. There were undoubtedly other Americans working covertly in Shanghai, most of which would be working for the CIA in some direct or indirect capacity. Yet it was still too early to determine whether Miles would be among this group of his countrymen. He was a major threat to Japan first and foremost, regardless of who he counted among his allies. With that, another round of theorizing was completed by the investigators as they sat around a dingy bar on the outskirts of Shanghai proper. It was now time to enter the Admiral's hiding grounds and root him out by whatever means necessary. Contact Shanghai now. Okay, so the modern mandate is coming next. Oh, that's so nice. With resounding applause in the Diet, Prime Minister Ikeda stood impassioned by his support for his speech given to the chamber. Stood behind the podium overlooking the Diet, he bowed and waved to the bobbing heads across the chamber floor, and clapped and chattered in approval of his speech outlining his intentions for the empire. Ikeda now commanded the support of the modern bloc, centered around him thanks to the reformist support of his administration, forming a comfortable foundation for him to pass legislation in the chamber. He was the king of the Diet, at least for the time being, and behind his pleased grin ran thoughts of urgency. Anticipating friction, he believed that action to pass his legislation must begin before the opposition clock of his potential to overturn the many laws of the past that defined the dysfunctional status quo. So we get additional 50 political power, increased support in House of Peers and public approval both by 2.5% and a base stability of 2.5%. And the last focus that we're gonna get is the last in the tree. We actually managed to get all of them. Hakkō ichiu. The phrase Hakkō ichiu, or 8 crown chords under one roof, is a paraphrase of saying attributes to Emperor Jimmu, founder of the Japanese Empire and descendant of Amaterasu in Susanoo. Upon his ascension to the throne, the first emperor proclaimed his intention to make all the world his abode, and by extension, part of the empire. The statement is over 2.5 millennia old, but it still holds value as a fundamental guideline of Japanese politics. Now, thanks to the efforts of Prime Minister Ikeda, Emperor Jimmu's words ring truer than ever. So if we manage to get this one as well, support in House of Peers increases by 5%, public approval by 2.5%, administrative efficiency begins to improve, and we get 100 political power. When can we get? In 20 days, okay. So that's gonna put us at 58%, but if this one happens, then we don't really need to do anything. I would still like to use the public though, to get a little bit more votes for ourselves, as that one is very valuable. But other than that, we don't need anything, I think. Counter-espionage efforts. Okay, hold on. Battle of the Chalpra River. Okay, we're upgrading. Let's look at what we're doing here. We're upgrading the advanced anti-air. We're upgrading the hand weapons. Upgrading the advanced anti-tank missiles. I'm thinking we might want to set a couple of factories here and here. Okay, we're stockpiling Type 21s. We've greatly improved the production of the helicopters, but we really don't have that many. And we'll need to improve the amount of transport helicopters if we are to start putting them into any reasonable capacity. So, like so, right? Yeah. I'm really burning a ton here as far as military goes though. Inflation is dropping a little bit, that's good. What about the... Okay, agriculture is improving rapidly, so is the administrative efficiency. Research is improving, and academic base is improving. I think both of those are gonna give us a GDP bonus eventually. Yeah, we need to get through secondary school to tertiary, but then there's a GDP modifier here, and research facilities, yep, they're gonna give us also a GDP modifier. What we're losing is the industrial expertise, and that is really bad, because that one is gonna hit us hard, and I don't know how we can improve that one. And military professionalism, but that's because of the DEFCON conspiracy. Okay, so the counter-espionage efforts. Reports have come in from our codebreakers that they are overwhelmed with documents. Kenpetai agents have recovered truly massive amounts of letters and orders from the Yuntong in recent weeks, with caches of the paper trail coming in by the truckload to clandestine offices. Even with the most powerful computing systems running day and night, members of our technical and decryption departments have complained they simply cannot keep up. The best code-breaking machines in our arsenal seems to find no pattern in the piles of messages delivered daily. It is nearly impossible that any partisan could create an unbreakable code without help. Some are pointing the finger at Admiral Miles, who probably get codes created by American computers across the Pacific and gives them to DEFCON and any other Yentong groups in China. There could even be the possibility that there is internal sabotage, but it is more than likely that these uncrackable codes are more than what DEFCON could create, even at his height of power. Keep them at it. DEFCON's secrets must be found no matter what. In Battle of the Chao Phraya River, Field Marshal and President of Taiwan Tanum Kittikachorn has today been detained by dissident naval officers, sparking widespread chaos in Taiwan. The incident began when the President Tanum attended a ceremony at Ratchavoradit Pier, where armed and disgruntled naval officers surrounded the pier and kidnapped the president. Soldiers loyal to the government attempted to intercept the ship along the Chao Phraya River, while other dissidents rushed the city in an attempt to seize it from the captors. The situation has devolved into internecine fighting between loyalists and rebels within and around Bangkok. International observers familiar with Thai politics speculate that this kidnapping may be the opening round of a coup attempt, following rumors of discontent among the military under Tanum's controversial rule. The whereabouts of the President Tanum and his captors is presently unknown. Where in the world is he? Okay. So that's interesting. Why did we get chaos in the country? Across the Bridge of Light. Okay, Hakkō ichiu is being worked on. We're still 13 days away. I'm tempted to burn a little bit here and then lower the paranoia a bit. Fortunately, we can't use the David gain, so just the political power. Which is a bit sad. And there's no better way than that one. That's sad. Okay, across the Bridge of Light. Two sounds permeated the hospital room. The first was the consistent and gentle hum of the ceiling fan, which produced an almost sulfuric aura in the space that the fan overlooked. The second sound was that of coughing, vicious and painful coughing that would have made one think that the man unfortunate enough to be producing the sound was having his lungs torn apart. The patient had come a long way from his comfortable rural childhood across the seas. Yet there he was in Shanghai, an Australian merchant who had sold rare herbs from the Chinese countryside to rich Westerners for over 20 years. Much had been achieved both above and under the table. But he would never be able to return home at this point, no matter how hard he tried. He was simply too sick, and at this point, unhooking him from the machines in the hospital would be to let the cancer take over. Could he have done more towards his ultimate goals? Could he have been a better ally to his friend? He thought it a shame that he might not live long enough to witness the fall of the sphere. At least he would have hastened its demise, perhaps more than he had anticipated. The former trader turned his weary head towards the window. The sun was beginning to set, casting a bright orange glow over Shanghai. The trader seemed to breathe easier, and eventually the gentle hum of the fan above him lulled him into a sleep from which he did not wake. Although somewhat well known, the trader had remained somewhat of a mystery to his peers. He had not written a will, and he had seemingly no friends or family to mourn him. However, there was a small note that he had scribbled one request upon for those who would be tasked with burying him. It was a simple enough thing to ask, to be buried in his old uniform. It had been kept in a box near to his deathbed, folded with great care and respect. As it was taken out of his container, the nurse couldn't help but notice the golden name plate fastened upon the breast pocket, Admiral Milton E. Miles. RIP. Well, okay, so at least we know what happened to him, and that he is no longer our problem. Thanum Kutikachorn declared dead. Prapas appointed president. This evening, forces loyal to President Thanum Kutikachorn of Thailand located him and his captors along the Chao Phraya River. After a lengthy battle, loyalists entered the would-be coup's flagship only to discover the president dead. While yet to be officially announced, it is suspected that President Thanum was killed in the fight. In response, the Revolutionary Council hastily raised Field Marshal Prapas Charusatien to the office of president. In his inaugural speech, President Prapas denounced the coup, claiming this kidnapping to be the work of communists and Saratai agitators attempting to destabilize Thailand. Prapas' regime has ordered a widespread purge in the government of anyone suspected of aiding or sympathizing with the coup. Militiamen and soldiers stormed government buildings, arresting whomever crosses the new regime's path. Well, I'm torn on what this means, because that could easily descend into, or, force Taiwan to descend into a civil war. Okay, so we captured an American operative. School coverage is now what? 75.3. Offices coverage is 83.3. Army base. Prisons. Hospitals. Let's build a bunch of hospitals. I think those will benefit us greatly. So Milton Miles is now dead, which is an interesting development, because that means he is no longer going to bother us. A grave. We've gained evidence. Probably didn't expect to be found out though that quickly. After securing the city, they had moved on the financial district, hoping to locate the admiral before he could react to their presence. Many Shanghainese had indeed heard of the Western trader, either from Australia or possibly the United States. He had in fact arrived some decades ago and quickly blended in among the traditional style shops and stalls of the district outskirts. It seemingly disappeared only a few years ago, having closed up his shop and said his last goodbyes to his business associates. At the very least, they were able to locate the supposed trader's shop. The new owners had met their predecessor only very briefly. Some weeks later, he had been buried up on a hill outside the city. Okay, so he died so many years ago. Okay. It was a simple, almost unmarked grave, hidden among many others of its kind. A simple, if elegantly crafted cross marked the spot. The name upon it was false, that of some persona that Admiral Milton E. Miles had created of himself. He had apparently died in the December of 1961, something that concerned the investigators greatly. The next step was crude enough, but necessary. The dead man was dug up and found to be wearing Admiral Miles' uniform. Hospital records confirmed that he had indeed been dying of cancer, and doctors were just about able to recognize his photograph, even without the beard he had grown during the time in Shanghai. They had finally reached the trail's end. The last few interrogations yielded little more than to lead them back to that same grave, where the trail would go icy cold over and over again. The dead man could only be Admiral Miles. There was nothing to suggest he had faked his own death, and nothing to suggest that the SACO files had been deliberately made inaccurate. The trail has ended. Fujiwara was left puzzled by the revelation. It provided a sense of finality, yet raised new concerns. Most of all, it cast a shadow of doubt over the entire conspiracy, now that one of its key figures had been in fact dead for some time now. Progress has been made, but now was certainly not the time to rest easy. They are chasing shadows, but didn't they say they have just tracked a message? So, we're gonna end this episode here. Let's recap. We have gathered sufficient evidence regarding the continued existence of Yuntong, so we know they exist, and we have gathered sufficient evidence regarding how they operate, so that's good. And we have gathered sufficient evidence about affairs in Shanghai, and we have gathered sufficient evidence regarding Admiral Miles. Okay, but we don't know anything about Davy himself, and we don't know anything about the Chinese involvement in the investigation, and we have not gathered sufficient evidence regarding internal disruption to our entire investigation. So, you win some, you lose some. 326 days to the next House of Cards. Okay, let's use the public so that we get a little bit more votes. We're not gonna use the propaganda campaign for now. I'm gonna leave it to the Hakkō ichiu, because that one is more important. We have 284 MPs. It's pretty good. We have terrible relations with technocrats, I don't care. Excellent relations with reformists, that's fine. Good relations with conservatives. Thinking whether or not we should improve the relations with independents one more time. But I don't think that's necessary, because we have literally 284 MPs. That's, I think, more than half of what we need. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me. See you in the next episode.